Welcome to video 15 of this series, and in this video we'll be talking about relationships and managing relationships in procurement. This aspect, I want you to think of it this way. A longer relationship tends to offer stability, but a shorter relationship tends to offer value, and value in the sense of cost savings. But when we're looking at a supplier and a buyer, there are two key relationships that underpin all others. The first one is what we call an adversarial relationship. In an adversarial relationship, this is a one-off purchase, which means that the supplier wants to get the highest price but offer the least quality in terms of benefits, and the buyer wants the lowest price and get the highest quality possible, and they are exchanging only money on one part and information, the least information on the other. And when we are negotiating in this type of a situation, it is what we call a win-lose situation, because it is one-off. Example, I'm going to buy a car at a dealership or at a car bazaar. So when I am looking for the car, I want the car with the best features, bells and whistles and everything, for the money that I have, and if I can even bargain lesser, the better. But the dealer wants to bargain the highest price for not the best car. If anything, if a car costs 300 and they can take it to 500, they will do it. Therefore, when you are exchanging the information, you are exchanging information to make sure that you are ahead, because it is a win-lose situation. The other type of this type of a situation is what you call, you're only buying this car once. It is not a repeat relationship. But in the second type of a relationship, here you have the supplier, you have the buyer, but they share their information, they share their resources in a way that benefits both. It is a win-win relationship. The supplier wants what's best for the buyer and for themselves too, and the buyer wants what's best for the supplier and them too. They are negotiating to make sure that their mutual interests are sustained. This type of a relationship happens to be in most repeat buys. You're buying something over and over again, or something that is of value to your organization. Now, if we're to look at these two relationships as the underpinning relationships, I want you to think of it this way. If I am using a single source, or I'm using multiple sourcing, what type of relationship applies in this case? I only use one supplier, or I only use multiple suppliers. That's one thing that I need you to think about. As you think of it, I want you to know that there are several types of market situation or relationship dynamics. You can have what you call a captive buyer. You can have what you call a captive seller. You can have what you call a market standard relationship, or you can have what you call a strategic relationship. I'll explain as we go to these relationships over here. A captive buyer is created in a situation where they can only get a certain product or service from a certain supplier. That is what you call a captive buyer. And They are captive buyers because the cost of switching is high. I'll explain using examples. When we're talking about phones or telecommunications, a captive buyer would be, you are buying products from Safaricom, M-Pesa and the like, but they're not the cheapest. But the cost of switching to Airtel is too high because you're not likely to get that service from the same service from Airtel because of the subscriber base. So you are captive to Safaricom because of M-Pesa. A captive seller is a seller who is tied to a certain buyer because of the nature of their product. For example, if I am in the steel industry, my customers are the same. I cannot change my service. A market standard is where there are many buyers and many sellers. A strategic partnership is where the technology of the product is affecting the dynamic of the relationship. But if we look at these two relationships up here, we can see a captive buyer or a captive seller is falling under this area. A strategic partner is falling around this area. If it is a multiple sourcing base, it is coming under this scenario. If it is a single sourcing base, it is coming under this scenario. Again, think of it in terms of interest. If I have what you call a co-destiny relationship, and you can check this in your manual, it is coming from this front. So when negotiating, you always want to understand what is the relationship dynamic between me and the buyer, and what is the market structure between me and the buyer. Do I have an upper hand, or do I need to make sure that I am happy? That's it for this relationship. Again, there is more on the manual that I will send to you. If there's any question, don't forget to reach out. Thank you.